and welcome to the Southampton Business School's Placement Podcast. Each episode, we're going to be exploring a new topic ranging from student experience, what employers look for in a placement student, and how to make sure you're being a competitive applicant in the placement job market. If there's anything in particular that you'd like to discuss, then please make sure you drop us an email at placements.sbs@soton.ac.uk. So my name's Libby and I work in the Southampton Business School placements team, and today we're going to be interviewing Chloe Cruz. Some of you might know Chloe as a placements officer where she works supporting students throughout their placement journey. But as part of her undergraduate studies, Chloe also took a placement year, which is why we're particularly interested in talking to Chloe today. So Chloe, can you tell us a bit more about who you are and what you did on your placement year?
Of course. So as Libby said, I'm the placements officer currently at the SBS placements team, and I did a placement at my university. So I studied at the University of Hertfordshire, and then I did my placement with the European and Study Abroad office at the University of Hertfordshire. So my official job title was the European and Study Abroad assistant, where I particularly focused on the international students, so people coming in and going out on study abroad experiences to anywhere other than Europe, so Canada, America, South America, Africa, Australasia, and Southeast Asia. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chloe. So how long did it take you to secure your placement, and what was the process like for you?
Yeah, so the process was quite different for me. At the University of Hertfordshire, I actually took half of my second year studying at the University of Hertfordshire. So my first semester, and then my second semester, I was actually studying abroad in Melbourne, Australia at Victoria University. So for the first semester, I was kind of perfecting my CV and getting in those early applications. I remember applying to a job with the government. I think it was at the Houses of Parliament. So for some context, I actually studied event management at the University of Hertfordshire. So that was to do with their kind of public relations and kind of visiting people at the Houses of Parliament. I remember applying to a job at SAP or SAP for, again, kind of a communications and events role with their company. I wasn't highly successful. I think I got through to a telephone interview with SAP, where I then didn't make it past. And then I was studying abroad. So I was actually applying to jobs whilst I was living in Melbourne, Australia. And there was a couple of jobs there with First Events Agency, so a few there. And then I ended up applying for the placements that were hosted through the University of Hertfordshire as well. One was in the central events team, which are responsible for planning open days and any visits to the university. Anything kind of a university-wide event that was happening ran through that team. And then also I wanted to join the team that helped me secure my study abroad. So I applied for the job as European and Study Abroad assistant. I was also actually interviewed for both jobs and offered both jobs. So then I had to sleep on it, because by the end of my interviews and being offered both roles, it was 10 p.m. in Melbourne. So I had kind of overnight to sleep on it. And then I chose to take the European and Study Abroad assistant role. And luckily, one of my colleagues in the event management course was also then able to take the events role in the central team. So it did take me a little while. I think I secured that role at the end of April, and that started in August. So there was definitely some learning curves along the way on telephone interviews and kind of perfecting that application and making sure it was getting to the right people. So yeah, definitely can secure a placement all through the year. I mean, myself, like I said, secured mine in April. So.
Could you tell us a bit about your expectations of your placement year and how they compare to actually what happened in reality?
Yeah, so I think as a 19, nearly 20-year-old, I thought I would be given some jobs, but mostly kind of administrative and that typical intern work that you see maybe in Hollywood movies of teen experiences, with a few more projects to make me feel a bit like I was contributing to the team. And the experience that I had seen other people had was slightly different, but I still had that preconception. So then in reality, when I joined the team, like I said, in August, it was towards the end of August that I joined my placement. I was then told that I'd be hosting an event for 9 international lecturers to come in and visit the university, and that was happening 10 days later. So definitely thrown in at the deep end, and it was a big kind of very important event in terms of networking for the university and important relationships that we had internationally. So I really felt like that sense of responsibility really early on, which was nice, I guess, that they trusted me and threw me in at the deep end. And it did go really well. So it kind of set a good precedent for me and the rest of my placement year. But that only grew. So that was, like I said, in the first kind of 2 weeks of my placement. I was then given the responsibility of running an international week for visiting lecturers as well as students, where we kind of publicized all of our international students that were studying with us and all the opportunities that were available through study abroad fairs, pre-departure meetings for students going out and study abroad. What else did we have? Oh, I co-managed, I guess is the word, a summer school for 50 American students over the summer towards the end of my placement. So I guess the expectations was, I thought I was kind of going to be administratively supporting the team and helping people go out on their study abroad and maybe, you know, pushing applications through with a few of these projects on the side, maybe a study abroad fair, maybe a meeting with an international partner. But actually there was something happening every month where it was really, the onus was on me, and that extended beyond the events as well. So I ran the scholarship program, which then meant I had to kind of liaise with Santander University. So there was a lot of networking and pressure, well, not pressure, good pressure, but pressure there to kind of help that. So there was really different opportunities across the board, as well as really focusing in on my event side of my degree, which was really good for me.
Sounds like you had a really interesting placement experience. Is there anything that was completely unexpected about your placement?
Yeah, so I actually was able to travel with my placement, and as it came around with a change of staff, and it was kind of, I stepped up to run the summer school, I was provided with the opportunity to attend a staff training week in, and I'm going to butcher this name because my Dutch is not very good, but at Radboud University in Nijmegen. So there was a week-long training there and they do an amazing summer school program every year across their university, and ours seemed so small in comparison. But that then allowed me to meet other, people doing the same role as me or slightly higher, and experience a whole different culture and university's way of running a summer school. So I think that was possibly the most unexpected thing. I knew there was a possibility I'd be traveling. I went to debate in European Parliament for Erasmus. This was all happening around Brexit, so it was quite topical. So yeah, I think I knew I'd be traveling potentially internationally, but I think the kind of clout that those visits had, like I said, European Parliament, attending like a week of training on how to effectively run a summer school, really kind of added to my experience and kind of added to my skills that I didn't think I'd be developing. Management of programs and understanding of actually like the politics that happens behind the Erasmus program, which isn't happening right now because of Brexit, but at the time was a really pivotal moment. So it was really interesting.
So what do you think your highlight of your placement year was?
Oh, I've mentioned too many good things and now I've got to find a highlight. I think it was a very small thing, actually, which sticks with me. And it was something I mentioned we had to do a placement reflective report like our students do. And it was when we had an international visitor from Sweden, 2 lovely ladies from a university in Sweden. And at the end of their couple of day visits, they'd had meetings with, different people across different schools. We were signing a new agreement with them for expanding the agreement we already had. And when we left, I was taking them back to get their taxi to the hotel or the airport. I can't quite remember now. And one of them said to me, "It's very clear that you're training to work in hospitality and events, because this has been one of the best couple of days we've had visiting another university." So I think that was the highlight, because it really validated everything I'd been doing in my studies, but also how far I'd come. That was kind of about 3/4 of the way into my placement. So it really validated that I was doing what I needed to do, and I was being a good representative for the university and my team. And even those small things that I did, like getting breakfast for meetings in the morning and making sure they were walked to their car, and those small touches that they had kind of seen, it was really clear that I was dedicated and well trained and well versed in what I needed to do to be. At the time, I wanted to be an event management professional, so that was very important to me. And I think that was probably the highlight, because it was a small thing, but it really validated the whole experience for me.
So if you could give one top tip to our students looking at taking a placement year, what would your tip be for them?
Yeah, one top tip from a placement student's perspective, not a placement advisor's perspective. I guess it does feed into my advice, actually, but make sure that the role you're taking is the right one for you. And it's a strange piece of advice, but I would never, as an event management degree student, would have looked at a job that said European and Study Abroad assistant and thought it would have been perfect for exactly what I wanted to do. I never thought I would get the amount of events experience I did. I was then looking at international relations, which at the time was really important, because I have always wanted to work in a place that has those international contacts, and you have to be very culturally aware, which I gained working for that team. And so don't write off a job just because the job title isn't what you expected. You'll see some weird job titles. You'll see some very long ones that may not make any sense to you right now. But delve a little deeper, take a look at the job advert, and really get into the nitty-gritty of what you'd be doing in that role and what skills you developed, who you'd be working with, the connections from those teams to other teams internally and externally. So yeah, the top tip would be look beyond the job title and just do a little bit more looking before you kind of write off a job as something you don't want to apply for.
That sounds like really great advice. Well, thanks for taking the time to do the podcast with us today. To everyone listening, I really hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting and helpful. And please do tune in for our future podcasts. And remember, if you want us to cover any particular topics, just drop us an email at placements.sbs@sutton.ac.uk.